Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Sunday, the 28th of August, 2016, and this is episode 191, Sewing Heavy-ish. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. How have you been? I know you don't know it, but I did record another episode. Well, right this moment, you might know it. I did record another episode, but I just got around to editing it yesterday. But I recorded it, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. Did I write down the date? Oh, on the 9th. So almost 3 weeks ago. Yeah, sorry. It's not that I don't want to record. It's just in a house with 5 kids. Finding quiet is difficult. But 3 of them are gone, and 2 of them have been banished with the laptop to go watch some Netflix. So I'm going to try to record a whole episode instead of one that got cut off, which is what happened on the 9th. I just didn't record a huge chunk of the stuff I would normally talk about at the end. So, yeah, life is still good, still trying to settle in. I don't have a job yet, but it's actually working out fine because 5 kids, daycare for 5 would be super expensive. The oldest is 11, so, and he's not in a position to be the babysitter of all the kids. So I don't even know if Michigan has a legal, minimum age for all that. I don't know. But I'm not working yet, but school starts in a little over a week, so that might change things up. But until I get a job, I will have weekdays here to talk to you and record, so hopefully it'll be much more regular, is what I'm getting to with all that blather. Although I'm really hoping to have a job quickly, because I feel like a slacker not having a job and not contributing now that I've been in the habit of being in a job. I kind of feel like a slacker. Anyway, I have finished objects. I have many finished objects. I'm going to talk about this one later though. Okay, so the first needs ends woven in, but I left them out specifically so I could show you something. Not just because I don't want to weave in ends, although, that's part of it. So I finished Kenny's Christmas socks, and they were both here last week. I knit them 2 at a time. There's 2 socks. 2 at a time. Not last week, 3 weeks ago. And I'm not sure when I finished these socks. Sometime within the last week. The yarn is Peyton's Croy sock in the Cascade colors. It's a lot more blue than it's showing up. If you can hear the cicadas, that's what they do. So it has a progressive rib pattern. So it starts like that and gets more ribbed as you go up the sock, as I have been doing all of the child tube socks. And something just fell out of the sock on the floor. I don't know what that was. And this means that all of Amanda's kids have Christmas socks now. So now I just have a few more, well, really one more pair of Christmas socks for sure, and then some other small humans to craft for Christmas. But I'm so close to being done with tube socks. Although, I know what the 4th quarter yarn is for me, and I'm really considering just making myself some tube socks. I haven't decided 100%. I might make myself some tube socks, or I might make myself some other type of sock. It's hard to tell at this point. This finished object, I'm super excited about. So excited. It is the market bag, the second market bag of Doom. The one that I was making for my kid's grandma. And I actually just pulled it out of the dryer because I went through a move, and then I was trying to find a place in the house where I could craft, and I found one. So in the living room over here, there are chairs set up and there's a table in between. And there are actually 3 chairs kind of in a L sort of shape with a table on one side and then this blue bin that's right here, that's next to one of the chairs. So I just have taken over those 3 chairs and move around and craft in those 3 chairs. I mean, other people can sit there. The chairs are always cleaned off, but the table is piled with my stuff, my big bag of projectness. That's under the table. Yeah, I've claimed that corner of the living room as my own. Anyway, this had been knocked on the floor a lot. There was some visible dirt on it, so I threw it in the washing machine and I was like, I hope it's fine. But it washed up really well, which is good. It's cotton, so it should have. It's a market bag. It's my pattern. And it's a nice bag. It's lovely. It's huge. So it took a really long time. It's a lovely bag. I don't want to make another market bag for a really long time. It's just not something I super enjoyed making. I had to put it on quota crocheting, so I would do so much every day, and then and that's how it got finished. It is Lily Sugar and Cream, I want to say, and I don't know the colorway, but it worked up really, really nice. Hopefully Grammy will like it. If I didn't dislike making it so much, I would totally make one for myself, even though I don't need more market bags right now. I have plenty. Because we have another market bag in the house this week, and I wouldn't show it to you except that, okay, so here's all my sewing and then my sewing, but it started with my nephew sewing. So those are his stitches. So it was a joint project, which you'll see a lot in this episode. There are many joint projects. He started sewing it and he really wanted it, but then he got through one length and he was like, this is going to take forever. And I was like, well, it's going to take some time, but it's not going to take forever. And then he just left it for, I don't know, a week. So I did a length a day just to get it done. And now it's a market bag. And it is one of their old t-shirts. I think it was my nephew's, and then it got passed to my niece, and then they were like, oh, Mara can have it. And I was like, well, I don't care if my child wears something where the color is super ratty around the house. I know she's going to go outside in it, and society cares about that sort of thing. So we made it into a market bag instead. So this is going to be his market bag. There is a farmer's market. Did I talk about this last time? I don't remember if we'd been to the farmer's market before. So there's a farmer's market that happens downtown every Wednesday, and we went to it. We drove to it 2 Wednesdays ago, so I must not have talked about it. We drove to it 2 Wednesdays ago, and then because my sister was with us, and she has bad ankles. She broke both of them, did not get them professionally, like doctor reset. So they hurt. Her ankles hurt. And but she's a waitress, so she's on her feet all day. She's a nut. So we didn't walk up there, we drove up there with her. But last week she was working, so the 6 of us, the 5 kids and myself, we walked up. And he didn't have a market bag because he forgot to grab one. So I'm going to make sure that he remembers he has his own market bag. So we're not bringing plastic into the house. So we're just not. We bring in enough plastic into this house without forgetting reusable shopping bags. What? Oh, one more. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 4 finished objects. So I have this book. And it is awesome. It's 99 Ways to Cut, Sew, Deck Out Your Denim, and Deck Out Your Denim by Faith Blakely, Justina Blakenlee. Both of those were Blakenlee, and Ellen Schultz. And they're really short little, it's everything is just one page a piece. So on this side, it shows you the picture of the object. What am I doing? Right here. So I made this visor, and on this side, it shows you how to cut up the jeans or do whatever you're doing with the jeans. Some of the projects only take one pair of jeans. I think one project takes 3 pairs. And then it's also really nice because up in the corner, it tells you difficulty and how long it's going to take. And it also, in the back, has, so it's got pattern making information and stitching techniques, and it's all, the time is all for hand stitching, so you don't need a sewing machine to do any of this. So it says that this visor should take about 60 minutes to make hand sewing. I don't know if that's accurate, because do I just sit down and work on one thing? No, of course not. I work on something for like a length of thread or a round or 2 on something. If I'm just sitting, I pretty much always do like 2 rounds on a sock, and then pick up a sewing project, and then pick up a modular project, and then I'll get up and clean something. So I don't just sit down for 15 or for like half an hour and work on just one thing. So I don't know how long this took me, but I wanted it because we go out every day. Every single day we go outside. Even when it's raining. Yesterday it was storming. We went to the park in the morning while we could. But anyway, it's sunny here. It's not as sunny as Kentucky. Michigan has much more cloud cover because of the lakes, which I'm so happy about, because Kentucky was frankly just way too bright for me. I had headaches a lot. I'm light sensitive. So I had a lot of headaches in Kentucky, so I don't miss that. But it is still bright. There are days where it's completely clear, and even overcast days tend to be a little bright for me. So I made this visor, and it is made out of an old pair of jeans and an old vest from work that got torn. And yeah, so this is what it looks like. And I don't really care if it looks good or not. I care if it looks good, but mostly I just need something functional to keep the sun out of my eyes directly, and it does. So yeah, I made this, and I changed the pattern a little, but not a ton. I followed it mostly. So what it is it's the waistband of a pair of jeans, and you cut out like a scoop, like right over the pockets. And then this fabric is not supposed to be straight across. It's supposed to be a swoop also, but I was just like, I'll do straight across, because I wanted to lengthen the visor. The pants that they used here must have been high-waisted jeans for the pattern, and it doesn't specify that. In some patterns it does, but in this one it doesn't. So I was finding that the visor was really, really short, like not going to shield my eyes from the sun. But this will. And I think it's cute. Like, it's a little weird, but I think it fits with the sorts of things that I wear. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty proud of it. And you'll be seeing a fair bit more out of this book. So this is pattern number 20, which is Anais. I think that's how you say it. A-N-A-I with the 2 dots over it, S. I don't actually know how that's pronounced. But I wrote out that list of, or I started the list of 101 and 1001. And on that list is to make 10 things out of here. And I wrote out a list of all of the patterns in here that I'm actually interested in making, because some of the things in here I'm like, I don't know about that. Like this poncho, I don't think I would wear that. But there are a lot of things in here that I think are really cool, like this cute baby dress. I have a niece incoming, so I foresee that in the future. And this adorable tennis dress. I don't think that'll make that for me. I think that'll probably make that for small humans, but I could make it for me. It's super cute. Yeah, so this will be over the next couple years. You'll see a few more projects out of that. I will say about this book, because the instructions are so condensed, they're not very specific, so you kind of need to do some interpretation for it. But I think that there are enough projects in here that even a beginner sewer could make some of the things. Like there's a pot holder, which is very basic sewing, and like a CD visor for the wall and a letter organizer. Those things are all really basic sewing. You don't need to worry about making things fit. You don't even really have to worry about sewing in a straight line for those things. So I think that a beginner sewer could make things out of here. And then there are more advanced things, not like super advanced, not like you need to know how to do everything in the whole world to be able to do this, but there are harder pattern ideas in here. But I really like this book, and I've had it for a really long time. This is the first time I've ever made anything from it, but I have enjoyed looking through it a lot the entire time that I've had it. So works in progress. I'm actually so I meant to record this on Friday, and this was a work in progress. So I'm super excited that it's a finished object now, and I don't have to make another market bag for a while. Although I will be sewing another market bag because I found a shirt that is getting pretty raggedy. So there'll be a new market bag. Yay! More market bags. I'm not going to show that one to you when I'm working on it though. So works in progress. I will start with two that are being worked simultaneously, but they're separate things. They're just being magic looped together because there's enough space on this needle. My yarn is through that loop. Let me fix the yarn so it's not bothering me as I'm trying to talk to you. Okay. So what I'm doing is this right here is going to be another earbud cozy because I said I had two pairs of headphones that needed spaces to live. So second earbud cozy. And then this is going to be another pair of yoga socks. So I am about halfway through the cuff length, and then I will put in waist yarn, and then I will work down the foot. And I'm working from the inside and outside of a ball that I hand wound. It was in a commercial skein. It's big box yarn left over from, I think, a pair of socks that I made for Cecilia, but that might be wrong. From a pair of child socks, I'm pretty sure. Leftovers. And so I'm working from the inside and outside, so the stripes are going in opposite directions. I didn't bother making sure that they matched up because yoga socks and I don't really care. I'm pretty sure that I used the same pattern as the socks that I made for Mary Lee, but I didn't write that down, so I'm not 100% positive. So I'm just gonna make them like this and see how it goes. They are 48 stitches on US 2.75 millimeter needles, 2x2 ribbing, 24 rounds for the cuff, and then I think I do 36 rounds for the foot, but I'm not sure. And then I do the afterthought style heelless heel sort of thing. The afterthought gusset stabilizer, maybe you could call it. I don't know. But they're going. And I just started these a couple days ago, and they haven't been my walking knitting. I've been working on something else, so they've only gotten a little bit of work here or there, but I did immediately want to cast some more on because I do want some, and I did want the earbud cozy. I also worked on another sewing project. So this project, as I was packing and going through things, I found this, and it's not like I had forgotten about it. I knew it existed somewhere, but I just put it out of my brain. It is a bag that I started sewing in college. This bag is at least 8 years old. I mean more than 8 years because Gabriel's about to be 8 in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, so old. So more like 9 years. This has been a work in progress. And I actually want to say it's more like a full decade because I know that I bought this fabric with a specific set of friends, and one of those or two of those friends were actually a year ahead of me in school. So we definitely didn't go fabric shopping together my senior year. So I'm going to say this is a decade old work in progress, which is ridiculous for how little work needed to be done on it. So, okay, so here's the bag. And it's right sides facing right now because I am sewing up currently the upper edge. So you can see my blue fabric. This right here, this is my symbol that I put on things that I make for other people when I sew them. It's backwards right now because it's inside out. But it's a 2 and a 4 and a 7, which are my favorite numbers, all put together to make an H. See? So yeah. But I'm making this for me, but I still wanted to put my symbol on it. So all I had left to do for this bag, it was already put together. The pockets were already on the interior. The shells for the interior and exterior were all finished. The straps were finished being sewn. This is going to have straps. They're inside right now being sewn in. One of the straps needed to be top stitched, and then I just had to sew the lining and the body of the bag together around the top and then turn it right sides out and use. That's ridiculous. So I've been sewing a little bit here and there, probably I would say probably a strand of thread a day. Just pick it up, do a strand, and I'm like, okay, it's closer to finished. So this will be a finished object by the next time I see you because all I have left is this side right here and then turning it right sides out and closing up this tiny side. I could just sit down and finish this today. Easy peasy, no problem. I'm not going to, but I could. And then I would have another little bag. The plan is for it to be an open top bag. It doesn't have a huge base. You can see that the base is only that wide, but that's the style of bag that I wanted back when I started it a decade ago, and I'm totally fine with it. I really like the shape. It has tote bag style handles, so yeah, it should be finished next week, and I'm super excited because it has this rubber ducky material. I'm not an orange person, but I thought that I needed the orange to go with the blue of that background, and also rubber duckies. They're yellow and orange, so this interior fabric was perfect. And I want to say that this orange fabric was a scrap that someone had given to me at some point. I do know that I bought the duck fabric and I was like, yep, I need that in my life. And I think I found this orange in someone's fabric stash. Can't tell you for sure. I have also been working on, the next 2 projects are joint projects, which I love. I love so much. Okay, so this has backstory and is a little bit sad. The backstory isn't sad. The reason why this is happening as a project is a little sad. Once upon a time, Amanda and I were pregnant at the same time with Gabriel and Cecilia. They are 6 weeks apart, but they were supposed to only be 3 weeks apart, I want to say. Gabriel was premature and Cecilia was late. So they're 6 weeks apart. But we had a joint baby shower for them. And one of the things we did at our joint baby shower is we had a raffle for some things, like some gift items that family donated, and then family then placed raffles on, which was awesome. I don't remember what all the prizes were. There were 3, but the grand prize was a handmade quilt, a scrappy handmade quilt that Cecilia's dad's cousin made for the raffle. And we had this raffle so that we could start bank accounts for our kids, which we did. The kind of amazing thing is that my nephew, the one who's 11 now, he was, 3 then? Almost 3, something like that. Just turned 3. I want to say he was almost or had just turned 3 because I know we had the baby shower in the summertime. I just can't remember exactly when. His grandma, my mom, had bought a whole bunch of raffle tickets for herself, and he was like, I want raffle tickets. So she bought like an arm's length or something for him, and then he's the one who won this handmade quilt. A 3-year-old won this handmade quilt, which is great, but he's a small human, and he's a small human with a fairly big dog who sleeps on his bed on top of this handmade quilt. And the quilt, I washed all the bedding in the house when I moved in just because I was like, I'm just going to clean all the things so that everything has a fresh start. And it pulled the quilt out of, I didn't even look at the bedding before I put it in the washing machine. It pulled the quilt out of the washing machine, or I pulled it out of the dryer and I was folding it. And I was like, oh. The quilt was heavily torn up on the top where all of the quilting had happened because boys and dogs and kids are hard on things. They just are. And I was like, Amanda, I don't really feel comfortable putting this back on anybody's bed because it looks like junk. And she was like, okay, that's fine. Get rid of it or whatever you want to do. And I was like, okay, yeah, we'll probably just throw it away. But I have super eco guilt. So, and also Kenny was quite attached to it, and I didn't want to just get rid of something of his, especially because he was gone for the week, and I didn't want him to be gone and then come back and we'd be like, oh yeah, I threw that away while you were gone. So I was thinking about it, and I was looking at it, and there were 2 corners that had fairly good sizable pieces that were not ripped up. And I was like, well, maybe I can salvage those and make throw pillows. So that's what I'm doing. And then the rest, I'm going to actually make into a dog bed for Kenny's dog because Kenny really wants his dog to have his own blanket at all times. And I don't want to give the dog any of the good blankets because he's a dog. And so I'm going to make that into his dog bed. So it's still in use. So this is what the dog bed is going to look like. Like that's the fabric, that's the dog bag, that's the back of the quilt. And you can see my stitches and that I changed thread color because I'm just using like the little tiny bobbins. I don't even know where I got all of these threads from. I know that I got some from my college roommate. She is someone in one of her art classes was like trying to get rid of some sewing stuff, and they're just the little tiny bobbins that are like for hand embroidery or something, whatever. So someone was giving them away, and she was like, here, someone was getting rid of this in class, and I thought of you. And I was like, oh, awesome, because I sewed a lot, did a lot of hand sewing in college. And I did a lot of machine sewing in college too, but a lot of hand sewing. Anyway, so this, at the beginning, that is my niece's sewing because she was like, why are you cutting up that blanket? And I was like, well, I'm going to make pillows out of it. She was like, oh, can I help? And I was like, yeah, sure. Do you know how to sew? And she was like, no. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is her first ever sewing, which is not bad for a first attempt. I think that looks pretty good. It's back stitch because I like to do back stitch for everything. So it starts off with my not super neat back stitching, but some back stitching from me. I was going quickly. And then all of this is hers. So good, right? And it was 2 separate sewing sit-downs. And then let me just, even though I'm going to show you the finished object when it's finished probably, or a picture at least, let me show you what one of the pieces that I was able to salvage looks like. So it's got one big piece of fabric with a teddy bear in a plane. So that's one side. And then the other side has bunches of little squares of fabric. It's just too pretty to just throw away, right? Especially when some of it's salvageable. So it's going to be a throw pillow that my nephew can keep in his room, on his bed, or in his chair, whatever. He can keep it. And I'm planning on sewing it so that this binding is still showing, which is why I left this for the last edge to be sewn. It wasn't worked on for a really long time because my niece was like, no, I'm going to work on it. And then she wasn't working on it. So I just picked it up because I don't have a lot of my crafting tools readily available. I could go get them. They just live in the basement right now, but they're in the boxes from moving. And I don't really want to unpack things that I don't necessarily need immediately. So I'm just trying to find all of the projects that we have worked on, or that anything that the kids and I have started. I'm just trying to work on those and get those finished so that they're not languishing whips forever. I have enough of those. And I do have all of my whips that I showed you at the beginning of the year. I do have all of those readily available so I can work on them easily. Speaking of, I worked on the quilt this week, even though it's not the month to work on the quilt, or in the last 3 weeks. I've pretty much done a strand a day. I almost have another big row sewn on, so probably next week I will. And so maybe I'll insert a picture then so that you can see my progress on that, because it's really, really pretty. I really like it. So I was working away on that, and then Gabriel's hexagon was just sitting there not being worked on. So I did a significant amount of knitting on it. I think that, let's see, I think it's like an inch away maybe from needing to start the decrease section. I don't know. I'll have to actually measure the bottom versus the sides. So down here where it's, less even, that's where Gabriel helped. And then where it's more even is a lot of me working on it. And then last night I was crafting. Oh, there's a drop stitch right here. Hold on. I'll just stick this pen through here. That's good enough to hold it so I can see it and fix it tomorrow. Last night I was working on something and Gabriel was like, oh, can I knit, or can I work on something with you? I don't remember if I was knitting or crocheting or sewing, whatever. And I was like, well, you have your big hexapuff that you could work on. And he was like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome. So this is the first, let's see, up to here. So those are his stitches, and you can see that he double wrapped some yarn in this stitch. That's good. And he dropped that stitch, but it's fine. It'll be fine. I'll fix it. And I just like that he likes to craft, even if it's only, 20 stitches or whatever at a time. I'm in full support of that. Yesterday, totally random, I'm not going to show it to you, but I went to Michael's because one of the girls at work in Kentucky got me a Michael's gift card before I moved. And so I went yesterday and I picked up a whole bunch of paint. So that's something you'll be seeing in the future. I really like to paint. I just haven't painted pretty much since college because my children were too small for me to have paints that they wouldn't then just, paint. But now they're old enough where I can be like, no, these are grown-up things and you can't play with my grown-up things, even though they both really, really want to paint now. So I got paint yesterday, and why am I telling you the story? I don't remember. Okay, so I finished Kenny's socks. Oh, this is why I didn't weave in the ends. Got distracted. So I wasn't sure if I could get a pair of bigger child tube socks out of a 50-gram ball of yarn because I just couldn't remember. So I started knitting the socks out of 50 grams. I did do the toe out of a contrast. I totally forgot to do contrast cuff. I got to the end of making the cuff and started to bind off, and I was like, oh, I was going to make that contrasting. And then I didn't. Fail. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But I got up to here, which is just after the beginning of the last ribbing section before the cuff. And I needed to attach another 50-gram ball. So I finished that, and then before I started the socks, no, I totally attached just a commercially made ball of yarn to that, and I finished that, and then I was like, oh, I have a baby nephew who he's 18 months right now. Let me just go ahead and use the leftover of that 50-gram ball to make him some socks because he's very tiny. His socks will be fairly small, so they will definitely use less than 50 grams, and probably, I don't even know how much this was when it was left over, maybe 30 grams. Plenty of yarn to make him some tube socks because, I'm sorry, the yarn was twisted and it was bothering me. Almost untwisted now. There we go. So this is the ball that I hand wound after I finished Kenny's socks. And then I cast on these little socks, which you can't tell are very little, but maybe if I put Kenny's socks behind, okay, so they're much narrower than Kenny's socks. And this is the stockinette section. So that's all I'm doing in stockinette. My next round will start the first round of ribbing. These are going to go super fast. I started them. Whenever I finished those, I cast on the toe, but then I put them down for a couple days. So yeah, they work up really fast. I finished the stockinette section today while waiting in line at the grocery store. And these are my walk around knitting right now because they're super simple and I would like to have another Christmas gift out of the way as soon as possible because I'm not worried per se about the Christmas gift crafting yet. It's not quite September yet, and I don't really think I would worry about it until the end of October. But I do have a pretty significant list of people who I want to craft for, and I only have, I don't know, a quarter or a third of the list done. So it would be nice to have another thing checked off. Okay, random tangent. I'm having a really hard time focusing, but I always do. You know that about me. So I also worked on the log cabin blanket, which is my goal project for the month to work on every day. And I decided to go with 18 ridges for this round. So I finished up this gray section right here. And then I started the next section, which is the sage. And I don't have to go to 18 ridges to finish out the month. I only need to do, let's say, the 28th. How many days are there in August? 31. So I've done today's ridge, so I only have 3 more ridges to go to be finished for the month. But I think I'm just going to finish out this color section so that it's done. So that next time I pick it up, I can start on a new color. Because that's exciting, starting on a new color. So then it will have actually had more progress than necessary, which would be great, right? So it's going pretty well. You can't see it, it's all bunched up because it's hanging out on this one needle for 2 sides and then spare, what are these? Cables for the other 2 sides. But I think I'm going to put it all on this one needle just for ease of not having to move stitches around so much. Who knows what I'm going to do? I don't have to worry about that because by the end of this month, I'll still only be on this color. But it's going along pretty well. And I think I'm going to do this round of squares and then another round and then a border and just have it be a smaller throw sized blanket. But we'll see. It's not going to be done for like 5 more years at this rate, so I have time to figure it out. I've also been working on my hamster socks. So this is the Hardcore Hamster colorway from 716 Knit. It's a 716 sock base. It is a custom color that she dyed for me when I won a knit-along or something. I won a prize in a knit-along. I love this color. This is how much I've done in the last 3 weeks. It's 2 rounds of work a day on it, and then I put it away because this is my 3rd quarter sock project for myself, and I have a whole month to go. I'm using the Kick in the Pants pattern by Lollipop Yarn. And what else? I feel like there was something else I was going to say. Oh, I want to make these as tall as possible, so knee socks if I can get them, and I'm totally willing to do a contrast cuff because I did a contrast heel in just some more plain black to get it to knee level. But I do need to start doing some increases. I think I'm going to do, my tentative plan right now is to do all of my increases in the black stripe and do 6 increases per black stripe. I don't know if I'm going to do that evenly across one round or if I'm going to do like 1 stitch every round until I get 6 stitches more. I haven't figured it out yet. But that is my plan, and I'm going to do it on the back, and I'm probably going to have to do several of those increased sections. My legs are pretty skinny, but I don't want the stitches at the top to be pulled apart. So we'll see. We'll see how those increases go. I will probably start them on the next black round though, because there's the top of the heel. So it's getting toward, you know, calf muscliness. I love these socks so much. I love the pattern. I'm so glad that I went with it. I love the yarn. I love this project so much, and I would totally finish it if I didn't keep putting limits on myself so that I'm still working on a pair of socks for me, which I'm really enjoying. I'm greatly enjoying having a project that's just for me on the needles. On to modular knitting. I have made a lot of squares on my blanket since the last time you saw it. I can't tell you which ones are new. I'm sorry. I didn't mark them because my stitch markers are all packed away. My removable ones are packed away. But I did do squares number 45 through 51 since you've last seen it. Let's see. Can I get it all in the shot? Yeah. Okay. So that is the blanket so far. And this is going to be the center panel, and then I'm going to do, so you can see that right here is going to be the middle of the panel. So it's going to have 4 quadrants with the diagonals going in different directions. And then I'm going to do panels around it that have different directionality. I can tell you that all of the new yarns are things from Haley and Christina. Mind blanked for a moment. So this one's definitely new because it has a pin in it, and that's Christina yarn. I think that these 2 are also new. And maybe this one, but I can't say that for certain. Yeah, I don't know where the new ones are for sure, except this one. This is a Christina yarn, so that's for sure new. And this is a Haley yarn, so that might be new. I don't know. I'm sorry. It's just been a really long time. I can't remember that far. But I love this blanket so much. I love how it's turning out, the greens and the blues. That was a good choice on my part for something that I would love. But obviously I love green and blue. And then I have made 4 barn raising squares. So this is 84, well, in no particular order, but 84. Yarn from Haley. 85, yarn from Haley. 86, yarn from Haley. And 87, yarn from Haley. I have used all of the yarns from Haley now, the ones that she sent me for Christmas this past year. They've all been used in the barn raising squares if they're big enough. And they are currently being used for hexapuffs. So I did finish, I had 5 hexapuffs magic looping, and I finished one of them because it has less stitches because it's a thicker yarn. So it also had less rounds. So I will have 4 more finished, later today or in 3 days or whenever I get to them. But today I have 1, which brings me up to 590 hexapuffs. So I am still working on those, just not as much as I did during the small things knit along, of course. All right, I am super excited. So I told you last time that I met up with Allison, and I told you I was going to show you some things that she gave me. And then I just never got back to recording after my niece and nephews got home. And I thought, I'll record in a couple days or like tomorrow or something. And it just kept being a couple days or tomorrow. So I'm going to show you now. I think this is everything, but it's been a little while since I got it. And so I may have had children come and take things and have forgotten that they were in the package. So first, this is a postcard, and this was a painting that was made by one of the girls from the girls' house that Allison visits in Malaysia. So how cute is that? She also gave me this adorable little Miffy phone charm sort of thing. It's super cute. I really like Miffy, the character. I think she's adorable. This is a bill. I can't remember what it's called. A ringgit, I think. It's some of the money. She gave it to Mara, who then left it on the ground, so I picked it up. And how cool is that? So Mara now has a ringgit, or whatever it's called. I'm sorry, Allison. It was a really long time ago, and I forgot what the money was called. There's also this adorable little purse with bells on the bottom. And I'm probably going to take off the strap and use it as a really fancy notions pouch, which is what Allison thought too. So how cute is that? Look at that elephant. It's a little crazy to see because the sequins are sparkly, but it's super beautiful. It's a gorgeous work. She gave us 3 of these. One of them is Mara's, and I don't know where it is. They are bookmarks, and this one is Gabriel. No, this one is mine, and this one is Gabriel's. I let the kids pick which ones they wanted first, and Mara picked one that had pink, and Gabriel picked the one that had blue.
And red.
And red. No, I guess there is some red on the sleeves and around the bottom. And then I got the one that is mostly green, which is what I wanted. And then she gave 4 packs of this tea, which I haven't tried yet because I was like, I want a podcast with the tea. And I guess I could have just saved one, but whatever. So we are going to try this maybe today. What do you think? You want to try the tea today? Okay. So we're probably going to try that. And yeah, that's the super lovely package that Allison gave me when we met up for coffee a couple weeks ago. So the last thing that I have to talk to you about is reading. And there's been a fair bit of reading. I finished several things. So I finished Heir to the Shadows. started and finished Queen of Darkness. Is that right? Yes. And then The Invisible Ring. So these two are the second and third book in the Black Jewels trilogy. And then this is part of the Black Jewels series. This is in the same universe. There is a character in this Invisible Ring book who is also in the trilogy, but it's a different, this happens earlier than these books, and the main characters are all different than that series. Please stop. You're distracting me. I did not read these books back to back. Well, I did read these two books back to back, but since they were different characters in the same universe, it wasn't really like reading another book in the same series. The dog is wagging his tail right into my stomach. It hurt. But in between this and this, I read the third book that's in this collection, Paint It Black, which is written in a different style than the other books. It is, there are parts that are written as if they're pulled from someone's diary, and then there are parts that are just narrative, like regular narrative. It was enjoyable. Stylistically, it was different, but not bad. And then after I finished The Invisible Ring, I picked up the next book in the Sonia Blue series, which is A Dozen Black Roses. And my little nerdy heart it super loves this one because it is a blending of Sonia Blue, who is this vampire on the cover, her and World of Darkness vampires, which I am a super big nerd. So World of Darkness is put out by White Wolf Publishing, and I've read all of the Vampire the Masquerade novels. I have a ton of Vampire the Masquerade role-playing books because there are the core books for role-playing, and then there are separate books for different clans that make up the two different sects of vampires. And I have the two main core books for role-playing those different groups, and I'm a super big nerd about the books, but I've only ever actually played in like 20 role-playing games over 3 different campaigns. So I really like the idea of role-playing, but I have a hard time finding a group who can meet at times that work for me. I did have one in college one summer, so that was really cool, and that's where I played the bulk of those 20 games. But yeah, so super, super nerdy. I know a lot about the mythology of the World of Darkness. Specifically, this is specifically Vampire the Masquerade, not Vampire the whatever the new one is. Is it? Nah, I can't even remember what it is. I'm not so into that. But this has this is a lot more like technically World of Darkness-y than the other books have been, because this is the first one where Nancy Collins merged the two together. So I'm super enjoying this and super geeking out because she talks about things that I have a lot of knowledge about, like specific mythology. I'm super enjoying it, and I believe that somewhere I read that one of the upcoming books she meets World of Darkness werewolves. Werewolves have been mentioned in the books because they're part of the Pretenders, but they're not in this book. Actually, none of the other Pretender races have been mentioned in this book, I don't think. So I think that I read that she meets up with some werewolves at some point, which I will totally geek out about, because the campaign that I played in was actually werewolf, not vampire. I've only ever played one vampire game. and it was New World of Darkness, not Old World of Darkness. But I really, really like the Old World of Darkness vampire thing, so I've read a lot about it. So I have crazy, nerdy amounts of information on the mythology of this book. So I'm super enjoying it, is what I'm saying. But even if you don't have all that background, it's still a really enjoyable vampire book, a really enjoyable vampire series. I've been super rambly, and this is really long. So I will try to record much more regularly in the coming months. I think that we're getting better paced. Things will, of course, be shaken up once I get a job, because then I'll have a different schedule other than just watching kids all the time. But hopefully I'll be able to get back into a rhythm. Thank you so much. I should have said this at the beginning. I'm a fail. But thank you so much, everybody who's gotten in contact with me and sent me messages. I know that I haven't been responding, and I'm a jerk for that. When I get stressed out, I tend to kind of like turtle, just hide in my shell, not talk to people, not interact very much, and I've been pretty stressed the last month. So, well, I mean the past 2 months really. So I'm really sorry. I've been reading your messages, and they mean a lot. I just haven't responded, but I will. Someday soon, I will respond and let you know that I read them, and I just want to say thank you here, because it has really meant a lot, and I'm sorry that I've been really, really bad about responding. Thank you for watching. It does mean a lot, so thank you very much. I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string, and I will see you hopefully next week. Bye!